I'm John Wilson. Welcome to Owned and Operated. Twice a week, we talk about home service businesses, and if you're a home service entrepreneur, then this is going to be the show for you. We talk about our own business in residential plumbing, HVAC, and electric, and we also talk about business models that we just find interesting. Let's get into it. Hey, today's episode is brought by Service Scalers. So Service Scalers is a home service marketing agency. And what they do is they help home service companies like me, like you, like Jack, drive leads in an affordable rate and at scale. So they've run two of our brands for a little bit over a year now, and they're doing an awesome job. So we're really excited to partner with them because we know that we've been really happy with what they've done for us.
How's your weekend or your week?
Good. Yeah, good. Working on a bunch of projects right now, which have been fun. So building out the marketing team, we're building out our inside sales team. I think I talked about that last time. That's been a big focus. Working on vendor managed inventory. Just talked about that offline, but that's been a big focus, trying to nail that down. Basically, a vendor's going to come in, buy out our existing inventory, lock it up, and they're going to staff it, which is going to be sweet.
When does that become available to people? Around what range do vendors start offering that?
It depends on the vendor.
Mhm.
So we talked to Ferguson and they said, nah, it would need to be like 10 million a year. Now
Wow.
that's just, it's location by location. Cause I know
Mhm.
some companies our size are doing, VMI with Ferguson.
Yeah, I thought when I spoke with a few people about it, they said it opened up at about 15 mil is gross revenue. They can start talking
Yeah.
about it. And so I don't know what that
I think that's
equates to.
roughly a good frame of reference. It's 2 to
Mhm.
3 million bucks. But so vendor managed inventory, I'll cut back. Vendor managed inventory, there's three different styles of VMI. There's half-assed VMI, which is we're going to come in and barcode your system, and then we're going to do new replenishments a couple times a week. The second one is consignment. So they're going to come in and they're going to maybe lock up an area, and that's their inventory. You don't own it, right?
Yeah.
And they invoice you once you pull it off the shelf or whatever. So a lot of people do this for equipment, water heaters, furnaces. That's usually where you see it, big ticket stuff that you want to keep on hand, but you don't want to buy it. And then the third one is full VMI. So it is a locked, their warehouse, their parts, their equipment, their staff, their software. So this is an extension of the full sailor's existing warehousing capabilities. It just depends on how scrappy the wholesaler is,
Mhm.
So Ferguson doesn't need to be scrappy.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
that's just the district manager is basically going to be the one that figures that one out. I think it is really tough to even have the conversation if you're not buying at least $1.5 million a year from somebody, because you have to be able to centralize that, and they got to be able to make money because they're putting a staff member as well as inventory and software and burden into your facility. So I think $1.5 million in spend in one vendor is a place to start.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's big company problems, right? That's when you grow to a size like 15 million that it actually makes sense for them and it makes sense for you. What were you doing before that? Not to make this. I know we had a planned topic today, but I'm
Yeah.
curious what real quick, what were you doing prior to this? Were you doing consignment mostly?
No, we own it. We own all our inventory. Yeah. But, we're still in beginning stages. We're interviewing 4 of our vendors. Vendors right now, I'm going to throw this out for VMI. Vendors are hurting.
Yeah.
So if you are a business that is growing, if you're a business that is moving in the right direction, if you're showing all the right trends, hey, what's your growth look like? What's your lead flow look like? How do you tell a story about how you're growing and how can you back it up? It's 1 in 10 companies is growing in this market. So if you're able to show that you're growing, they will make concessions. So we've had vendors who we've been trying to get onto VMI for years, full VMIs, you staff it, you deal with it. Cause my core business is not warehouse, right?
Mhm.
My core business is plumbing and HVAC and electric. So we've been pushing for that for years. we were never big enough, or we had too many warehouses or whatever, but now we're in one facility. It's a lot easier of a conversation. So, vendors that had previously said, hell no, we will never do that in our wildest dreams are now down 20% year over year. And they're
Yeah,
like,
that's what
hey,
I've heard.
we're open to doing this now. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I bet. Yeah.
Sweet.
So,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard as well. Vendors, especially the distribution warehouses, are down 20, 25% on average.
yeah,
So,
they're getting their butt kicked.
yeah.
And you know, a lot of their customers are sinking, or a lot of them are going bankrupt. So like, what's their exposure to new construction right now?
Mhm.
A lot of those companies are going belly up. So they're trying to, you know, figure out their path to growth. Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. Well, that's awesome. I mean, on my side, it's been going pretty good. I know last week we talked about plumbing. So in 1 week, I just crunched the numbers on Service Titan. $17,004 first week.
Okay.
Yeah. So 3
Hold on.
toilets.
Hold on. Hold on. Dude,
Oh, sorry, I'm so
let's be
excited.
clear. Let's be
Yeah.
clear. Is this sold or is
Sold.
this completed revenue?
Oh no, excuse me. This is completed revenue.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good.
I mean, so we didn't have anything on the books prior, right? So anything that we sold, we just did because we didn't really have anything prior. So
Yeah.
for sold revenue, or excuse me, completed revenue, 2 tankless water heaters, 3 toilets, 2 sink unclogs, and a shower cartridge. So obviously, and 4 maintenances. Big $16 in recurring revenue right there, monthly recurring. But our team's been really pumped on it. I mean, that's a huge first week, especially. It's sunny and 78 here. I mean, it's perfect weather. It's gorgeous. So it's been a nightmare for trying to get in the HVAC. So the fact that we can, have some of our helpers want to jump over into plumbing and help
Yeah.
out the plumbing guys has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
what has staffing looked like for 17? So your guy goes out, he prices it, sells it, and
Mhm.
then is he doing all that 17
He's
or did he
yeah.
get backup?
Oh, he has a helper for backup on the 2. He's using one of our HVAC helpers to help him out with the tankless water heaters.
Yeah.
Just the water pump down, transferring all the water out, hucking the units. I mean, the normal stuff running under houses, doing pipe, all that kind of fun stuff. So, but that's been a great first week. And second week, we're already starting to lock up some more tankless. I mean, tankless we haven't had a tanked call all in this first 2 weeks. It's been
And is
weird.
it all leads from the TikTok thing that you showed me last time?
Yep. So all of our leads are for TikTok for tankless. So that
That's
ad is
wild.
doing really good. We're doing I think it's $20 a lead, something like $21 a lead.
Yeah, dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that's good. That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
The problem with it though, the downside is the leads are pretty low quality. So we close at probably a 20% rate, at least on HVAC. We were on tankless. We're a little better than that so far. And we've been out and quoted out a few other locations so far. So we're really excited. So I think we'll have maybe 2 or 3 more next week as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if our first month is close to $100,000 first month, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
it rivals our HVAC last year. So
Yeah. No, that's wicked. I mean, that amount of tankless is really interesting.
yeah, the area we're in is very affluent. So there's lots of disposable income and there's lots of want and need for high efficiency. So I think I've talked about it on here before. We sell high SEER quite often. I mean, most of our sales are 16 SEER or such. So it's a big push in this area to get those kind of higher efficiencies in your household, and that's why I think we see such a drive from that.
Yeah.
Yep. And the ad's doing well, so that doesn't hurt.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that now. I gotta do we're getting ready to launch short form,
Mm-hmm.
like that, like TikTok, YouTube. We haven't done anything with it. It's sort of like it's so easy to do, but you sort of, I don't know, you become this like marketing as a team, and it just doesn't hit the priority list. But I gotta do it. I gotta do it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I also reached out to that group that you mentioned last time on the podcast.
Yeah.
So we have a meeting tomorrow to hopefully run the PPC LSA. Yeah,
Yeah.
we started LSA and we've driven a few leads, but you're right. LSA, we're up to like $60 a lead. It's just,
Yeah,
it's rough.
it's
I mean,
tough. I
we're at
did.
PPC prices now.
Yeah, well, you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had the same conversation with Rich Jordan last week, where he was like, "Dude, I was paying $100 for PPC or something like that." And I'm like, right now, my LSA leads for drains are $54. My
Hmm.
PPC leads for drains are $53. Like, that's my cost per lead right now. So like that feels pretty good. And
Yeah.
that's including excavation. So um yeah, I don't know. They've done good for me for the last year. So Service Scalers, check it out.
Yeah. And so,
Um yeah.
that's been going well. And then we are closing, we've gotten commitment letters and we're under contract on another business. And so we're growing rapidly and we put in an advertisement for, GM.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping to talk about that today is,
Yeah.
what did you look for when hiring your first GM? And I think that'd be a great conversation for people in that 0 to 5 million range, because
Mhm.
right around that high threes, 4 or 5 is when you start looking for your first, whatever you want to call them, ops manager, senior service manager, whatever. But really, kind of your daily operations specialist that kind of takes over so that you can move out of the daily ops and go on to the higher value items.
Yeah. Um so well, I have a couple comments. And I sort of paused because you
Yeah.
caught me off guard with that last sentence, which is so that you can move on to higher items. Um so I'm going to share a quick philosophy and then I'm going to dive into
Yeah. I
um
might have overspoke that, but I mean, to get to 5 million, those are the high items, right? You being in the daily weeds of things.
yeah, and I would
So
argue to get to 100 million. And I think that that's been a big learning for me. Like there's a contest on Twitter of how little you know about the operations of your business day to day. And you'll sort of see people like brag about it or talk about it and they'll be like, "Oh
yeah,
my god, I have no idea what this and this." And like I know everything. I
yeah,
know all 138 people. I know their close rates. I know their numbers. I know where we're struggling. I know where we're winning. And my office is in the middle of freaking call center. So like there is no office. I'm in a cubicle. Cause that's where it's happening. Like
hmm,
our path to 100 million is a path of 100 million details. So,
yeah. And
um,
not to cut you
I,
off, I'd 100% agree with that. Is
okay.
any business that I've seen somebody move out, and on Twitter, the idea is right. I want to be the finance
The
guy comes in
allocator. Yeah.
and comes in and hires a
And me
GM
too.
and
Like
runs
I've
it.
said that before too. Right. So
Hmm.
it's like I'm throwing stones at myself here.
But yes, it's not a dismissal from the day-to-day items, but
Yeah.
it definitely is getting help to handle the
Yeah.
increased operation that you are growing,
Yeah.
and then give you extra time to do acquisitions or to do growth, and, really growth modeling and building the systems.
Yeah. I think this ties into how you recruit an ops manager or GM is
Hmm.
one of the things that we're having to undo right now that we did at the time was exactly that mindset. So that's why I'm trying to be, not to
Real
create a
careful.
correction, but yeah, like literally this is one of like that exact sentence is one of the things that got us in sort of trouble. Right. So we had this, like delegate and elevate, like all that's great until people lose sight of the only thing that matters, which is like what's happening every day. Are we booked to capacity? Are we like how many water heaters and were sold and how many toilets were sold in your first week of plumbing, right? Like
Yep.
that's obsession, that's focus, that's like keeping it tight. And the business starts to suffer when you lose that fanatical focus on how many cartridges you replace that week. So this is something that we're having to undo from top down in our business right now. Of like, no, they're like, yes, we delegate, but we still have a fanatical obsession with what's happening every single day, and like that is top of the org chart is who has to care about what's happening every single day.
Hmm. And so how do you go about then? What were there any big misses, or where was your first hire for that position, and
Mhm.
what did that what was the wins and what were the misses on that hire, if there was any?
Yeah. So the first time I hired an ops manager was like 7 years ago. And they were actually somebody that came on from an acquisition.
Mhm.
And honestly, I think I was just like, I was just a kid, such a youth. And like, I didn't know how to hold somebody accountable. And it was the wrong person for the job. It was a guy who wasn't hungry at all. Um, like, yeah, I could go on it about about that. So when I selected the next one, it was about 2 years later, year and a half later. And that was Brandon, who's our president now. He
Mhm.
does a great job. He's COO and president, and he helped me take this business from 3 million to 20 something over the past 4 or 5 years together. So he's amazing. And what I was looking for at the time with him, I don't think I wouldn't. I don't even think that I was looking for it because I don't want to give myself that much credit. What I found with him, which I found attractive, was he was previously an entrepreneur. So he launched his own business in high school. He sold that business at like 21 to a competitor. And then he ran that business. He ran his competitor's business while going to college full time as a 21-year-old. And the business was doing like $2-3 million with 55 employees. So like,
Mhm.
that's a baller, right?
Yeah.
So like and he had helped take his original business. He sold it, ran the new business, and the new business was a non-franchise flipping over to a franchise, that was a focus of mine at that point, not to become a franchise, but we were implementing Certain Path or
Yeah.
SGI at the time, which it's a business in a box system. So I was looking for someone that had helped implement a franchise before so that they could help implement our business in a box model.
And so how important, right there, you mentioned a few key points, right? Hungry.
Mhm.
It's a kind of ambiguous term. How quickly were you able to discern how hungry he was coming into it? Because I find that that's extremely important, right? Is just someone who's willing to get in there, see the vision, and then start moving towards it. Fanatical, you've used that word as well. Because someone who becomes fanatical for
Yeah.
the kind of group's vision. Um, when did you notice that he was a good fit and met that criteria? How quickly?
I think pretty early, like we offered that day, but it was also 5 years ago. So I feel like memory's a long time.
He's
Cause like how I think about how he's a good fit now is probably not how John 5 years ago thought he was a good fit. Right. Like I think he's a good fit for a totally different set of reasons.
Mhm.
Now we work well together. We complement each other's strengths. Like he understands the vision and he can drive towards it. He's a workhorse. Like there's all these amazing aspects to him that like I didn't know at that time. When we're hiring now, we've sort of built a framework o- off of him, but off of other people too. Of like, we have a questionnaire that our recruiters go through during interviewing because you have to sort of like spread the information of like, how do we do this? So, um, like some of the questions are they hungry? Are they entrepreneurial? Are they scrappy? Those are three of the questions in our 15 intake. Before I even see it, somebody, they have to check these boxes, right?
Mhm.
Do their eyes light up when we talk about the role? That's been like a huge and dumb learning for me for hiring is
Yeah.
like I kept having to like convince people into taking this job. And then like no surprise, they don't do amazing, right? So because they never really wanted it and I just happened to sell them on it. So now I sell them on the company like, hey, here's the vision, here's where we were, here's where we're going, here's how we're gonna get there, here's how you can help. But the role is like when I explain that role, if your eyes don't like light up and if you aren't like frothing at the mouth to start, like you're probably not a fit. But that takes like an obsession of understanding the role. Yeah, I don't think most companies understand the role that they're trying to hire for.
And when going through this, when finding these people, yeah, and notwithstanding where they're coming from, but what industry, is there any specific industry outside of directly trades that creates great operations for the trades? Like, I know that there's operations managers in hospitality and in hotels, and very good attention to detail because they're in really high end hotels.
Yeah.
But is there anything specific that transfers over into being a great ops manager or GM for trade specific roles, or is it just trades guys?
I know that other people have successfully added people from outside of the trades into the trades. I have tried a number of times and been mostly unsuccessful. So when we're hiring people in leadership roles now, we kind of have a pickle because, like usually you're like, hey, yeah, dude, I just got this comfort advisor, I just got this service manager or whatever from the big company down the street. We are the big company down the street. There is not a big company down the street for us to draw talent from. And that, like, it's funny, but it's also like, this is a real problem. So like right now we need a call center manager, and like my ideal call center manager, scrappy, entrepreneurial, eyes light up when we talk about all those things, highly competent in Service Titan, capable of managing 20 to 30 people, understands a 3-trade membership program and how to grow it. There is no one like that.
Yeah, you're picking them from another city. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Because they don't exist. Like if they existed, they would be in my office already because it's the only company that has that in our market. So, yeah, it's kind of a pickle. We've struggled with hiring people from outside of the trades, but now it's created this, we can, I guess we see our business a little bit differently. So call center, absolutely. But each business, it's still its own pillar. So one of the things that we've learned as we've hired people is like, how big is the P&L that they're going to manage? How big is the team? So like, hey, if you're a service manager from a plumbing company that's managed 10 people, my plumbing department has 40, right? So I'm probably not going to hire you and give you 40 people, but there's 4 teams with 10 people on it. So I probably have a spot for you in that case. So that's how we actively recruit now when we're thinking about like writing 3 install managers right now. And we can take those from other companies because of this, and this.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, that's my worry. And I've heard some horror stories of trying to bring people in from other industries. I mean, even me hiring techs from different industries and trying to train them up. I mean, even if you've worked facilities, and it's just a whole different mindset going from, hey, we're in a cost savings mode to we're in a revenue generating mode. And that was a hard lesson. And so I think that's going to be the same for a lot of industries is maintenance and trades and in industries that kind of are vertically integrated, where that trade role is vertically integrated into the system. They're in cost savings modes all the time versus when you pull them over here, he says, no, this is we're trying to hit revenue goals and revenue numbers. You need to sell, you need to train your people how to sell. And that's a hard transition. That's not teaching you, some management skills. That's a flip of a mindset.
Yeah, it's totally different. And I'm sure that like the people that I know that have successfully brought them in, they've still brought them in from a very like retail focused spot. So, I've heard of like rent-a-centers. So financing focused home upgrades. So yeah, okay, I can get behind that. What was another one? Like landscaping, we've done pretty well with landscaping managed out of there because you're just dealing with crazy staff, right? Like if you can handle the staff in a landscaping company, you can handle anybody's staff.
Yeah, I've never looked too deeply into a business, but I would imagine it's a lot of employees per manager. Is that the reason?
Yeah, for landscaping.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also just crazy. Or like roofing, right? Like roofing is another one. Like if you can handle a roofing crew, you can handle anything I have to throw at you. Because like before lunch every day, you've probably had guns pulled on you 3 times by your own employees, right? Like roofing is wild.
Yeah.
So HVAC is a lot easier than that. But it's still a financing focused, sales focused business that we're talking about upgrades with homeowners. So similar enough model that I think that would still fit.
Okay, great. And then, so in your current business, right, we kind of are interchanging the words GM, COO, and ops manager. What in your business, what does that currently look like in terms of structure, org chart?
Yeah. You know what? I brought it up.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, man. This is us. So I think this has most of the team. So we're about 138 people deep right now. So I'm going to slide over to Allie here. So yeah, this is our rough org chart. So the way it works is we have a sales service department that will sell work and flip it over to the install department. Each of these has a leader. So there's a manager. It's usually a call by call manager is what they're called. So we have three call by call managers. And what they do every day is they literally run call by call. So they just watch along as that's happening. So you can think of that like a service manager. It's a very different role, but that's
Yeah.
as you scale, you either have service managers or call by calls, and we've chosen to have call by calls. And then above them is a trade manager. So the trade manager is the ops manager of that trade. So Jennifer is the ops manager of HVAC. Nick is the ops manager of electric. Sarah's the ops manager of restoration. And Allie's the ops manager of plumbing. So we call them trade managers, and they manage the trade. So the trade fully rolls up to that person, and they're accountable. So the way this looks is trade managers are accountable for everything that happens inside that vertical. They own that P&L. They get weekly P&Ls down to gross profit, and then they're incentivized off that. And then they're field managers. So ops managers, field managers, which is the call by calls, the install managers work underneath them to manage the team directly.
And then is there, I mean, I know we're digging into the weeds now, but then, so you have your install manager or your I want to call them service managers or field managers. How many, at what point do you split and create a secondary field manager? How many, or I guess it would change by trade, correct? Or is that?
Yeah, it changes a little bit by trade. So I think this is honestly like an old org chart because I think we're missing a chunk of people just by looking at it here, but that's still something that we're actively experimenting with. So like I'll walk you through the development of our org chart here if that sounds interesting. Okay. So one of our biggest barriers to scale was nailing down the middle management component of the business. And it doesn't sound that complicated, but it really is. So you get a little bit larger and suddenly you need additional managers. So you need service managers or install managers or call by call managers or, whatever it is. And you have to pick a path and you have to stick to it, and it has to work with the rest of your business. So for us, we experimented with a few things. I was very hesitant to add overhead.
Yeah, because that's a lot of, you can get top heavy real quick on these. I mean, that's the fear, right? In all businesses is that you've hired too many of these managers that aren't in the daily weeds and they're not actually driving any revenue. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, I mean, that is the fear. So a long time ago, 5-6 years ago, we ran at the recommended 6 to 8 people.
6 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't work for us. Now, looking backwards, that was probably a wrong person in the seat. So that's probably a different problem. And we didn't have a good way of replacing or holding accountable at that point like we do now. But that's probably the wrong person. So now we let the teams get bigger. So we've gotten as big as 15. Like Jen currently has no middle managers, and she directly manages. Actually, I think this is missing a few. She directly manages like 12 individuals.
Yeah.
Now we're getting ready to add an install manager now. We're actively recruiting for that position. But that is roughly what it used to look like. So 6 months ago, Allie was directly managing plumbing, which had 20 people or 19 people at the time, like full-on direct management. We added a call by call. We handed that off. Getting ready to add an install manager. But we're forcing growth in the same window.
And tell me, does this change, right? So you have a kind of a specific model here where you have um you have sales like comfort advisors, plumbing sales that drives to or that drives to installers, correct? Um, if you were to say and flip this on its head and say, hey, there's a lot of people out there that have selling techs, right? What does that look like? Does that change the org chart at all, or is it just kind of stay the same, but just minus the comfort advisor, or the plumbing comfort advisor?
Yeah, I don't think it changes the org chart. Like you just wouldn't have a comfort advisor. A comfort advisor is a new addition for us in HVAC in the last couple of months.
Hmm.
Like we added it like 4 or 5 months ago. It's been very good. So we're going to do a lot more of it. So we're getting ready to bring on the second one in a month or two. Um, so we had,
Yeah, I guess my point is, right, if you get rid of the comfort advisor, then you need to have more selling techs to take up that extra
yeah,
sales space. So I guess it would just inflate the team on the sales tech side
yeah,
versus actually creating any kind of different structure in itself. That makes sense. No, that's cool. Thanks for showing that. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, I know for people who are just listening, it really is simple. It was COO, then it's split down to
ops
all the
managers.
ops
Yeah. So
managers,
yeah,
and
Brandon
it's
has
split
like 5
down.
direct reports.
Yeah.
Right now he's running call center, so he has more than that. But like ideally he has 5 or 6 direct reports. Um, I have maybe 8 direct reports right now. So I have a fairly large team reporting up to me, and it keeps me very busy. Um, so yeah. And then we just add more teams. And now that we have our middle management team model built, this model can take us to $50 million before we
Yeah,
have
it's
to
scalable.
before we have to figure it out again. So, we've got a couple years before that happens, fortunately, but
So question,
2022.
the $10 million mark is called the bullshit mode, right?
Yeah.
That's the bullshit
Yeah.
mode. What's the $50 million mark called?
Like probably dumb as hell. Yeah. So like the 10, when you cross 10 million, I call it the bullshit mode, right? So like 10 million it's a great number because suddenly you get access to more stuff. You get to sort of be a BSD in the market. You get all these great things. But the problem is you scaled there probably pretty fast and you have zero infrastructure, or at least we did, right? Because we went from 4 million to like 14 million over the course of 5 months. So we had nothing built.
Yeah.
So
It
like,
breaks all
hey,
your systems.
breaks everything.
Mhm.
So like, and even if you were doing organic, like we have friends who are growing from 5 to 10 million in 18 months. That's pretty fast.
Mhm.
So like, how are you handling HR? What's that team look like? How are you handling accounting? What's that team look like? Because when everybody crosses 10 million, like I'll tell you what your team looks like. You have no one in HR except for a recruiter, maybe, and you have a bookkeeper, because that's what ours look like.
Yep.
And then it's like, holy shit! Like I need 6 people in accounting. I need 4 people in HR. I have 100. I'm going to cross 150 employees by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And like
My call
that
center,
happens.
it's going from maybe a CSR and a dispatcher to now like,
Yep.
oh, we have inside sales and outside sales and this and
Yeah.
that and that. And you actually delegate out or divide out kind of
Yeah.
that roles. Almost what we talked about last week is you become a generalist and all your
Yeah.
people are generalists and they have to hurry up and they
Mhm.
like almost not overnight have to become specialists in
Yeah.
HR and all these kind of areas you've slacked in. And I could definitely see that coming down the pike. I mean,
Oh, for sure. And now we're at the next stage of what you just described. Where like you split this, like, okay, we've got CSR and dispatch. All right,
mhm.
awesome. And like maybe you get to like 6, 7 people. Like we just crossed 22 in call center. So like there's a lot of shit going on over here. And like, so yeah, I think that, yeah,
I'm so
10 million
excited
is
for
just
that
like,
day. I mean, I hope I get to that one day where I have
you
a
will.
call
Like,
center of 20 people. That's so
yeah,
exciting.
you will.
Just sitting here with two people.
Yeah. Well,
It's
we
huge.
had to, it's really fresh right now. When we moved into the new building, we had so I set up 24 cubicles. 8 of them are like in a weird spot. So we haven't moved people into that. It's designated for one team. When we moved in, we had 3 of the cubicles filled. We
Mhm.
filled them. Like we filled the first 16 a couple weeks ago. So I had to buy 8 new desks, and I was setting them up today at the office for our 8 new people that I'm starting over the next couple weeks, because I have 2 more starting on Monday. Probably have 2 more starting the Monday after that. And now our call center is, I have people in there from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night on site inside my call center. And then we're adding these new sales teams. And so it's just a lot. There's now 3 shifts to handle like our demand load. And it's a lot. Turns into a lot. So that's the BS of 20 million, I guess.
Awesome. I love it. I mean, someone said it's always, there's always problems. It's always going to be BS. It's different types, but at least when you're at 20 million in BS,
the problems are fun. Yeah. I think the problems are a lot more enjoyable because like suddenly you have momentum and you have resources. Whereas like when you're smaller, you don't have really either of those things. But like my momentum, I think I've been sharing this on Twitter, but like we're 70% month over month in leads.
I saw that. That was amazing. 4,000 leads. 4,000 leads if you're listening to this.
That's insane. So like
70% up, it said.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate
that was. So like we've had to triple our call center, right? But like we've really had to. But so we have momentum, and like the like percentages are great, but like in raw terms, that is like 8,000 phone calls a week. Like that's ridiculous. So, 8,000 a month. That's 8,000 phone calls a month. So,
still, it's like, a problem that just takes, like we never think about. We never think about, okay,
totally.
You know, a phone call is going to be average 6 minutes, and you have 8,000 of those. How many can they take per day? And then you have to have backup so that
and
it's 1
to
or 2
come
people
in?
call.
Because if you look at if 2 people call at the same time, great. But like, how do you level load the staffing and payroll of 22 people in order to hit those peak times at just right, so you can staff them, you can close on those leads that you fought so hard for?
Yeah, that's where the true value of Service Titan and these other applications that like tell you the data really come into handy, right? Do you look at timing
Service
of that,
call,
like how they come in?
Oh yeah, obsessively. Yeah. I am not exaggerating when I say that my cubicle is in the like that's not a joke. That is where I said, yeah.
You know, I can't imagine that place when we got, so it got -3 last year, which is crazy for Nashville. And we had 250 calls in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't feel it. We're just like, we'll take what we can get as we go. The entire team was, slipping on ice.
Yeah.
I can't imagine when something like that, when you guys have an extreme weather event.
Yeah. So that was sort of Monday. So our average Monday is about 500 phone calls. We had 750 on Monday.
Busy.
And we weren't quite staffed for it.
Yeah.
Like we have Schedule Engine, but like literally every week I have 1 to 2 people starting in call center every single week, like clockwork, because we literally can't keep up.
Sorry, I know we're over on time, but one last question. Is your call center specific to industry, or do you have a call center that just can handle anything from, your home remediation all the way over to electrical?
Yeah, it's across the board.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
This was good. Started in office management, ended up in call center.
Call center.
I mean, we can spend 20, 30 minutes talking about call center and how it flows. I
feel like the last 3 podcasts we've did, they've all ended in call center.
I mean, I think that's just what we talk about next.
Yeah. I love call center. I'm in.
All right.
Okay.
There we go. We're talking about call center.
Good. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Owned and Operated. We're dropping episodes twice a week on home service companies, so make sure to tune in. Thanks for tuning in to Owned and Operated, the podcast for home service entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out. You can find me on Twitter at @WilsonCompanies. I'll see you next time.